welcome to Andrea Ugrinoska. She is the chairperson of the Advisory Council on Youth for the Youth NGOs. And from your perspective, how do you see the situation, Andrea?
Hello, everyone. And I mean, in the spirit of things, I also want to say welcome to my house. I also definitely have not arranged as big of a party as this one. I don't know if the pizza will arrive on time, I hope. But also thank you for spotting our backgrounds. And I felt like, as a true millennial, that I should represent my organization, which my generation, which really enjoys buying plants and, you know, making their houses all green and fighting for climate, etc., etc. So I hope that those watching who belong to my generation will recognize themselves in my background. But also back to the topic, dear friends and fellow activists and everyone who is with us here today, including government representatives and youth work practitioners, I just wanted to firstly say that it really is a true honor to be with you here today, even though I cannot see your faces. Usually I would be in a room full of audience and I would read everyone's impressions, but now I'm just stuck with my own screen. So that's a bit of a sad reality, but here we are, and I'm really happy to see that you know, the German presidency of both the EU and the Council of Europe has done so much to make this convention as real as possible. I hands-on have not participated in a more elaborate platform with more preparation. So really thank you. And I think someone said it already, but you have a lot to be proud on. It kind of gave me that hope and energy that even though, you know, the online world is far more limiting than the in-person one, we were able to get as close to the fruits of it as possible. And as you said, right, I'm here to ensure that the voices of young people and youth organizations are presented within this debate, which I always think that it's quite a difficult challenge, considering how heterogeneous of a group young people are, and also how certain marginal groups continue facing lack of representation. Before I officially start, my dear colleague Ivan, who is the chair of the Joint Council, said that I will speak to you a bit about the Advisory Council and what we do. And I always tend to start my speeches by giving a perspective of who we are, what we do, and why we matter. So I'm Andrea. I'm originally from North Macedonia, currently living and working in London. And I've this year been elected to be the chair of the Advisory Council on Youth of the Council of Europe. So we are part of a larger structure that's called the Joint Council on Youth that my colleague Ivan represented today. And this structure is composed of two bodies. So we have the Advisory Council on Youth, where I'm the chair, and it's composed of 30 youth representatives and activists from all over Europe. And then we also have something that's called the European Steering Committee for Youth, where Ivan, my colleague, is the chair, and he chairs with a committee where government representatives of youth ministries from all around Europe sit. These two bodies come together 2 times per year in a construction that's called the Joint Council on Youth. And while we come together, we cooperate in a co-managed way in co-managing the budget, the program, and the policy recommendations, and everything else that comes as an output of the youth department. Why is this so precious, and why do I feel the need to elaborate it to you before I start? It's because I still think that it's one of the co-management structures in Europe and beyond that puts young people and government decision makers on an equal level. So we work on the principle of consensus, and that means that each person belonging to the co-management, to the Joint Council on Youth, has the same vote. So if one person in the room disagrees with the decision we want to take, that decision will not move forward. And I think this is really important, especially for young people, and we speak about meaningful youth participation and what that entails. And as a young person, I think that I found myself for the first time in a space where I felt that my voice matters. And I can just genuinely hope that this model is replicated more and more and wider, so that all young people in Europe and beyond can find a place where they feel they can contribute and when their contribution is actually taken seriously. When it comes to youth work, I think that since forever, youth work has been at the center of our activities in the Council of Europe, including in our youth centers, the European Youth Foundation, the EU Council of Europe partnerships, which are all methods that we use that have been explained previously by my colleague Ivan. But it was thanks to the visionaries after the fall of the Berlin Wall that contributed towards building the Council of Europe as one of the main thought leaders and practitioners in youth work. And we can see that embedded across our new 10-year strategy too. So as you can see, we really don't take youth work lightly at the Council of Europe. With the rise of the pandemic, youth work was not spared of its consequences. Youth work does not live in a vacuum and is prone to the same challenges that many other aspects of youth empowerment face. It has been one of the bigger victims of the forced digitalization the pandemic has put us through, bluntly said. And youth work is another way to describe the education process and support that young people in their transition toward adulthood need, and it was genuinely benefiting of all the positive aspects that in-person, non-formal education would induce. And by digitalizing youth work, we also see a shift in beneficiaries versus youth workers. So all of a sudden, we're now in a space where the young generations play a key role in ensuring that no one is left out of the digital transformation we're going through. So I think it was said already quite a lot of times that youth work forces all of us to come together, and sometimes those roles can change. Sometimes the youth workers can be in the position of beneficiaries and vice versa. But as long as we're together, we're able to uplift ourselves through the communities of practice. Youth work is crucial for the development of young people, and when they leave the education system, while they indeed accumulate a lot of theoretical knowledge that guides them, most of the time they lack the practical knowledge needed to maneuver through the world today. So I think that by virtue of being here today with all of you, I would suppose that I don't need to convince anyone of the importance of youth work. But on that same note, we have to recognize the uneven distribution of youth work across the European continent. And if youth work is to serve the purpose, it must be formalized, it must be recognized, it must be provided education for, it must be developed, and it must be financially supported. All things that were already mentioned by my colleagues. Today, we see divides in how youth work is developed both between the North and the South and the East and the West. And this is problematic not only for youth work itself as a science, but also for the young people reaching out to youth work. So that automatically creates another disbalance between the opportunities young people from different countries have to further develop themselves. It's not all gloomy, however, and some countries have truly developed decent youth work structures, which means we can use them as a positive example to showcase how, when given the right priority, youth work really shows up for young people in time when no one else would. It's chilling to hear stories by young people who found salvation and support and were brought back on the right track thanks to youth work. It's chilling to think of myself and what my life would have turned like if I did not stumble upon the universe of youth work. And I know that I'm not the only one that will look back and be grateful for youth work showing up in their life. So what we need to do is keep on shining light on the positive stories and all the positive impact youth work has had so far to build a case that will place youth work shoulder to shoulder with other social sciences and humanities. We want to see youth work integrated in formal education so youth workers can receive the needed support to execute their work. And we want youth work to be a recognized and paid profession, and I don't think that that's a lot to ask for. We want each and every young person to know that they have youth work available to help them further their development and develop skills needed to survive in today's societies. And this is not hard to do. We are doing it here and now. We must energize and keep alive the spaces where youth work development is discussed, and we must honor them and we must learn from them. We must keep them vibrant and sync to the needs of young people. And having conversations on a European level helps to equalize the different youth work agendas across the North and the South, the East and the West. But how do we bring this home then? How do the local, national and European youth work agendas merge? Youth work is the most stakeholder-oriented profession in the youth field. Probably, I think so. It's vibrant and moving, and it depends on many different decision makers: governments, young people, youth workers and practitioners, youth organizations, public authorities. All of them play an equal role in driving youth work to success. As such, youth organizations are very often the first gate for young people to reach out support and be engaged. So, youth organizations do play a crucial role in promoting and delivering youth work both locally, nationally, and on a European level. Right at the start of the pandemic, with the Advisory Council, we launched a survey to measure the impacts of the pandemic on youth organizations. And one of the biggest challenges they face and keep on facing has to do with funding. And I know that we keep on bringing funding up, but sadly, we are still in a situation where youth organizations are fighting for their basic survival. They struggle on multiple levels. National funding is either not available at all, or they're labeled as foreign agents when they reach out to foreign funding. So it's a double-edged sword. And with the pandemic, this has worsened. Funding has been cut, and some youth organizations really face extinction. So that's why I'm also a bit proud that with the European Youth Foundation, we were one of the first ones to change the categories of our funding to allow organizations suffering from the effects of the pandemic to apply and to mitigate this as much as possible. And I still believe there's much more that all of us can do. But here we are today. We all came together with one purpose: to set the new European Youth Work Agenda. And the fact that the EU and the Council of Europe have come together for such a historic moment reflects the power youth work has to unite us. We're eager to see this agenda implemented, and as we like to do for everything, we want to see young people as an integral part of the monitoring and implementation process. We want young people to be at the heart of it. And we may go in so far as to offer to be one of the focal points that monitors the implementation of this agenda. Dear friends, a very honest request from me. Let's not let the great work done with the Youth Work Agenda be smeared up with unmeaningful youth participation. Let us unite with our expertise and show to young people that we are ready to walk the talk and that they are central to the creation and implementation of the agenda, and most importantly, that the agenda is meaningless without them. In these times, which are difficult for everyone, let's keep on showing up for young people and youth organizations, so when the time comes, they can show up for the rest of the world. Los gechts! Let's look to the future and let's make this a reality together. Thank you very much.